Welcome everyone. My name is Corinne and welcome to my channel, Corycreates. This channel is about a variety of things that I do, including cross stitch, sewing, gardening, quilting. If my hands make it, that's what we do over here. So thank you all for taking a little time out of your day to join me. Today is Thursday, June 2nd. So summer has officially arrived. Thank you all for those of you that are returning. Thank you all to those of you that are new. I so appreciate you taking some time out to spend with me today. I have a lot to share with you today. The first thing I want to talk about is some people I want to shout out. I have had so many comments, so many new subscribers, and I just want to take a minute to say thank you to all of you. I wasn't expecting it. I did have some people that shouted me out that I do want to acknowledge, but I just can't express how excited I am to make contact with so many of you. So many of you have shared with me after seeing my videos the things that you were working on, so I'm so glad to hear that. Please keep that coming. I love to hear about what other people are doing. So let me get to a few of those people I wanted to make sure that I mentioned today. The first one is Kelly over at Pages and Stitches, and if you look her up on YouTube, she's Pages and then 3 stitches is how it looks on her page, but she says it's Pages and Stitches. She shouted me out this week. Thank you so much, Kelly. One of the things I loved about her channel at the beginning, in her intro, she goes over some books that she has been reading. And in this particular episode, the one I was looking at, she said 2 books by Letha Klepass. I believe that's how she says her name. She's one of my favorite historical romance authors, and she was talking about 2 of her books that I had previously read. So you all go over and check her out. Very diverse types of stitching that she does on her channel. So I think she's got 7 videos, so she is fairly new as well. So thank you again, Kelly. I really appreciate it. The next person I wanted to shout out is Stitching Granny of 17. And that name you should definitely be able to remember. Her name is Deborah. And she mentioned me on her channel this week. Thank you so much, Deborah. She also reached out to me via Instagram. So I am now following her on Instagram as well. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned her and how much I appreciate her shouting me out on her channel. Last but not least, the Sunshine Stitchers, particularly EJ and Shelia, shouted me out on their weekly episode this past weekend. Thank you so much, ladies. I really appreciate you. I'm excited that you found me and that I was able to interest you because these ladies, I've been watching them for a while. And I want to say the Sunshine Stitchers was probably the first channel that I realized had a schedule. And so now I know they're coming up. Usually late Saturday night is when they post their videos. I know Gary's got to do their editing and whatnot. So I usually end up watching them on Sundays while I'm doing my Sunday stitching. So thank you so much, my sisters. I appreciate you. I thank you for shouting me out and taking some time out to say hey. Oh, and by the way, I do not crochet. Okay, I got yarn, I got crochet needles, I got knit needles, I got a few patterns, as a matter of fact, but it's a no-go for me. I've tried it. Either my stitches are too tight or too loose, and it just doesn't give me the same feeling that sewing and cross stitch does. So I just wanted to make sure y'all knew, nope, no crochet over here. But I have lots of supplies, as with, I'm sure all of us do. So let me just kind of quickly tell you what's going on here. Today was the last day of school for my son. He just came home. He was a little teary, y'all. Pray for him because he's going to be changing schools next year when we move and everything. So he was a little teary-eyed. He's been at this school since he started school in kindergarten. So he's going to miss his friends. I saw him, I'm sitting in the dining room and I saw him stop, and him and the little girl up the street, they always walk home together. And I saw him give each other a hug. So he'll be okay. His sister it was the same way when his sister moved to the high school with me. He'll be okay, but he was a little sad today. So just keep him in your prayers. But he's a good kid and he just finished 4th grade. So he will be going to a new school for 5th grade. Let me tell you what I'm going to talk about today. Today I'm going to share with you, of course, my WIPs. I only have 2 that I've really worked on since my last video. And then I'm going to go over my finishes. Now, the last video I showed you my fully finished objects. But today I'm just showing you things that I have finished, but I have not fully finished. But I have some plans for all of them. So I'm going to share those with you as well. Okay. So let's get started. Thank you all for those of you that are following me on Instagram. You're going to see some of these as they get done pop up over there on Instagram. So let's start. I'm going to start with these 2 small ones first. This is a Lizzie Kate. I'm going to finish it as a Christmas ornament, but it comes from Lizzie Kate, Tiny Tidings number 7. Okay, Tiny Tidings number 7. And I did this one up here, Unto Us a Child is Born. This is on, I believe, a 16 count summer khaki. You almost immediately recognize it as Lizzie Kate. But that is Unto Us a Child is Born. And again, either 18 count or 16 count summer khaki Ada. So just a little finish that I did quite some time ago and just have not finished it. So I'm going to finish that as an ornament. Okay. And I have one other ornament, and I can't really show you the pattern. I'm going to flash it real fast. It is just a single page pattern, but it has 2 designs on it, and it is called Missouri Christmas. Okay. It is a Lindy Jane's design. And I did this, I believe, on I'm going to say a 28 count potato Lugana. That is one of the fabrics I really like, potato. It's kind of creamy, but it's not white. It has a little rustic feel to it. But this is Missouri Christmas, and this one says, have a Merry Missouri Christmas. The other pattern says, Merry Christmas from Missouri. So I guess it just kind of depends on if you're keeping it or if you're giving it away. But that is Missouri Christmas by Lindy Jane Designs. And again, I'm going to finish this either as a little pillow or an ornament. It does have some Mill Hill beads on there down here in the holly leaves. I guess those are the berries, but very cute, and a quick stitch. I'm probably going to do some more of these. They had all other states represented. I know I had Florida at one time because my sister-in-law lived in Florida and I was going to do one for her. And then I know they had Illinois, and that I just had that one because it was so close to where we live here in the St. Louis area. So that is Have a Merry Missouri Christmas by Lindy Jane. All right. I have some other Christmas items. I will show you my project bag that I keep those in, those little ornaments. This is another small one. It's like 7 by 10. Just a little cute little Christmas bag. And on the inside, it has kind of a vintage lining, both red and green. So I really like that one. I have another Christmas bag, and I'll talk a little bit more about what I'm going to stitch for Christmas when it gets closer to July. But I need to make a bigger Christmas project bag. All right, the next item I have is another of those rocking horses, but this one I actually finished. This is Trotter by Teresa Wentzler. I don't think I have the pattern to this anymore. I don't know if I got rid of it because I knew I was only going to stitch it once or what I did. But here it is. It is completely finished, back stitch and all, y'all. I got it done, but I really like it. And I know I did this way back in my youth, probably high school or college. And I know I picked starting with this one because I loved blue at that time. That was my favorite color. But I have, I think, 4 of these patterns, and I am going to start on the one that's for Christmas in July. But that is Trotter by Teresa Wentzler. And I'm going to show you some of the fabrics. This is what I'm keeping it in. In this project bag, this is an Ankara project bag. And then here are some fabrics I'm planning to, or I'm thinking about using as the back, because I think I'm going to make Trotter into a pillow, just a little pillow to have in my sewing room. But this is just a scrap of decorator fabric, home decor fabric that I had in my stash, and I thought it was very complementary to that blue. So I may use that. Another option is this blue and white polka dot. It's a very small polka dot. I'm not sure about this one, but this is definitely a contender to maybe even just be on the front along with this piece on the back. And then I love denim. So this is just a scrap of denim that has a really bright hue to it that I possibly could use on it as well. So those are my options for Trotter. And until I decide which one, I keep him in this project bag. An Ankara print I got from Femi Fabrics. So that is Trotter. Up next, I have another Precious Moments. This is, I believe, Serve the Lord with Gladness. It is from that occupations book that I've shown in a previous video. But there she is. She has a nice, bright yellow outfit on. And then she's serving a salad. I always thought that was so cute. I told you all, food is my thing. So that is Serve the Lord with Gladness. I did not put the words on it. It had words that you could put on it, but I chose to leave those off. And then let me show you the fabric I have picked out to finish this as a pillow as well. But here's the project bag she's living in. Cookies and sweets and stuff. There's a brown polka dot up here. And then the same thing on the back. And this was one of those thrifted zippers that I told you guys I like to use. And then the fabric I'm wanting to use is another home decor fabric. And I'm just going to kind of show it. But I thought that was nice and bright and went well with the yellow. And then if I need a backing or something for the pillow, or if that size won't work, this is just another type of yellow. So that is Serve the Lord with Gladness, 14 count white Aida. Okay, 14 count white Aida. And the Trotter was done on 14 count white Aida as well. You all, so much of my previous stuff, Aida was all we had to choose from. And we were doing good to find ivory if we didn't want white back in the day. So a lot of what I did was on white. Plus, white was so easy to get. I know at Joann's, you could buy it on the bolt. And actually, I think it was Cloth World back then. Okay, but you could buy it on the bolt. So it was so easy to get. But now we have so many more choices. So I'm looking, I told you guys, that's one of my goals this year, to make more projects on a variety of different type of fabrics. Okay, you guys gonna laugh at this next one. I do not have the pattern anymore, but this is Footprints in the Sand. This has been done many times. There have been many versions of this pattern. I believe this was the Leisure Arts one, but here it is, and I'll try to come in just a little. But you all, look at this seagull at the top and this shell right here. What's missing? A backstitch. I already got rid of this pattern. I'm almost positive I did. But you see the rest of these our back stitch. So probably you all, in my haste to say I was done, I didn't finish it. And I don't have the pattern anymore, so I'm just going to outline it. That'll be good enough for me. And I'm not sure if or how I'm going to finish this. This is another one. This is done on a 14 count, either cream or ivory Aida. So I'm not sure how I'm going to finish it, but I really liked the writing on it. I just like that font. And I use this font a lot when I sign my different works that I do. I always just find a similar font and use that one. Okay. This next one was my first foray into full coverage. This is a Mystic Stitch. I know I showed you guys a Mystic Stitch whip that I have, but I only purchased 3 Mystic Stitch patterns and I still love them all, but this one was the first one that I did, and the plan for it was to have it hanging in this room, one on each side of the window. It still has to be framed, but we gonna get there because this one I'm definitely going to finish. But this is Tuscan Beauty. You all, my dream vacation is Italy, all over Italy. Countryside, Rome, Florence, everywhere. I want to go to Italy. Milan, okay? And so both of these pictures are, this picture is based on an Italian Tuscan scene. It's called Tuscan Beauty. So here it is. I did it on 18 count white Aida because I remember it was recommended by Mystic Stitch, if you're just going to do a full coverage anyway, you might as well just do it on Aida. So this is Tuscan Beauty. And it had a companion piece called Italian Beauty that I have not done yet, but I got the fabric and everything ready to go when I do decide to work on it. So let me show you Tuscan Beauty. So there she is. And I really still love it. Okay, again, 18 count, Aida. This was pre-Pattern Keeper. But I remember I finished this probably in the early, probably around 2006, 2005, right around the time my daughter was born. I think the copyright on this is 2004 on the packaging. So I'm pretty sure I finished this back in early 05, 06. But that is Tuscan Beauty. One of my favorite pieces that I have ever done. You guys can even see at the bottom, this was a DMC Aida. So I love this piece. I still love it. I am going to finish it. Okay, I can promise you that. All right, the last one of my finishes that I have is another Paula Vaughn from this book. And the name of it is Tea, Roses, and Romance. And it's going to take me a hot minute to get it on this board because it's very long. Okay, I would say the timeline for me finishing this one would probably be right before I got married. I know it was when I was working at the local needlework shop because this is done on a 28 count Jobelin. Okay, because Jobelin is probably my favorite one to work on. But this is Paula Vaughn's Tea, Roses, and Romance. And I'm going to try and get it all in the screen. All right. I told you guys, or told you all, I love feminine things. And this really exemplified that for me with all these flowers. I just love the flowers. And then the sun hat up here. Okay, and then the teapot on this side. I just love tea. I drink tea every day. So this for me was very reminiscent of romance and beauty and all of those very, very feminine things that I tend to love. So that is Paula Vaughn. And baskets, you all got so many baskets downstairs. It's ridiculous. And I just pull them out and I use them to hold things as decor, but I love baskets as well. So again, Tea, Roses, and Romance from Paula Vaughn. Also one of my favorite finishes. And I'm going to frame this one. Okay, and I knew the framing for that one was going to be a little bit more expensive because it's an odd size. It's long. I don't know what the exact measurement is, but it's pretty wide. But again, I love that one. It's one of my favorites. And I'm glad I got it out because now I have no excuse but to go ahead and finish it. Okay. All right. That is all of my finishes. I don't have a whole lot. I was always the type of person I really wanted to get things finished completely. So that's why in my last video, you guys saw so many of them that were framed, because that's kind of a priority for me, is to try and finish things as much as possible. I like to feel like I'm accomplishing stuff. Okay, so next I'm going to get into my whips. Give me 1 second. We're going to start off, like I said, I only have 2. We're going to start off again with A Ride to Dreamland from this Magic Moments Stony Creek collection book. I'm still plugging away on the back stitching. Let me put it on this board so you all can see exactly how far I've gotten. I'm still not done though. And part of that is I have not been doing as much because like I said, I'm a monogamous stitcher, and Heaven and Earth Design, my new one, has just taken over, and I love it. But this one, I'm getting there. I don't know if I have a picture from the last time, but if I do, I'll insert it somewhere in here. But all of the actual horse here and over to here is done. The tail is done all the way down here at the bottom. I've started on the saddle, but I have to finish the saddle and then again finish this horse that's in the shadows. I started him. You kind of see some of the outlining on the outside done, but I have not gotten into his face or anything. But all of the poles are finished and everything. So I just have this part of the saddle and then this horse, and it'll be done. Everything else is complete. So again, this is A Ride to Dreamland, 28 count white Jobelin. It's either white or antique white. Okay, either one. So that one is on the downhill stretch. And then finally, my last whip is Heaven and Earth Designs. And I heard so many times from you all in your comments, some of you that were intimidated by Heaven and Earth Designs. Some of you wanted to know how I go about tackling a Heaven and Earth design. So if that's something that you all would be interested in seeing, I would be more than happy to go over how I do that. Somebody also even asked about the gridding. I will be happy to show you how I grid, and then also show you how I take the gridding out. Somebody did ask me specifically how that was done. So I can definitely show that, and I could probably do it all in one little short clip to show you everything that I do. But this is Heaven and Earth Designs Vintage Baker. I'm doing this on 25 count antique white Lugana from Fat Quarter Shop. And I'm just going to leave it in the Q-snap. But this is my end of May progress. I should be able to find another picture from where I was in my last video, and I'll put it up here, but I know I was at 2,000 stitches the last time. Now I'm at 5,001, and I got there on May 31st. I have not worked on it since June has started. I probably won't get a chance to work on it this week much, probably not till Sunday or Saturday night or Sunday, because I have a catering job I have to do this weekend. But this is Vintage Baker by Heaven and Earth Designs. I love it. I really do. It's going much quicker than I thought it would, but 5,001 stitches, I believe that's 1.66% done. Okay, so it's not going to be a fast stitch, but I am enjoying it. My goal for that one for June is to finish that pie, that cherry pie that's in the corner. That's my goal for that one for June. The next thing I'm going to share with you all today is some quilt whips. I love to quilt. I have not been quilting as long as I have been cross stitching, but it is a very important part of my crafting life. My mom is a quilter. Her mom before her and her mom before her were quilters. So I come from a long line of quilters. I spend a lot of time in my sewing room. Right now, my sewing room is in our basement. Half of the basement is mine. I can spread out. I have 2 tables. One of my tables is about 6 feet long that I made out of 2 doors on top of it. So it's nice and big so I can cut large pieces of fabric, but I spend a lot of time in my sewing room. Even when I'm in Zoom meetings, I go down there, and if it's not a meeting I really have to participate in, I might sew a couple of seams, sit something out to cut. I just enjoy my time down there. So with this move, we are definitely moving. We're moving at the end of July, putting our house on the market later this month. So with this move, I've got to be mindful, and I have to be more intentional about my projects because I'm not going to be able to take everything with me. We're going to get a storage facility, and almost everything in the basement, all of my furniture, tables, everything down there is going to have to go in storage, as well as the majority of my fabric, simply because there's no place to store it in our apartment. It is a 3-bedroom, but it's not going to be anywhere for me to put it. I mean, I am going to take my sewing machine, my serger, and I am going to take most of my cross stitch stuff because I can just put that in a closet somewhere. But everything else, I'm going to have to put in storage and kind of go get it as I need it, if possible. So I am trying to get together projects that I can take with me now that'll fit in maybe one tub. And then as I get to it, I can just pull it out and work on it. So I'm trying to identify those things right now, and it is a daunting task. So I thought I would share some of my quilt whips that I'm planning to take with me for sure and finish. A lot of these are just stacks of blocks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and give you an overhead shot of the blocks and kind of go through them. And so you can see, I'll try to make sure I tell you the designer or the pattern and where I got it from. Like some stitching that I do, I find a lot of free stuff, free patterns on Pinterest. And for those of you that are quilters, you know, we can often look at a pattern and figure out how to do it. And I do that a lot as well. So let me switch my camera around. Hopefully this will work, and I will show you my quilt whips. This first quilt whip that I'm sharing with you comes from the quilt book called Charm School. And it is a book, I do not remember the publisher, but I will try and put a picture of it in this video for you. But this is the chandelier quilt, okay? And these, when they are set in the quilt, will be set on point. Okay, so I'm trying to keep it in the middle for y'all. But these are 8.5-inch blocks. And this particular quilt is going to be for my goddaughter. So hopefully her mom's not watching. But I'm just going to flip through these so you can kind of see what they look like. This is the main print that I chose first. She's a little girl. She just turned 1 a couple months ago. But she is the cutest thing, little Riley. So I'm just going to flip through these so you can see. Many of these came from my stash. So I do not know how many I have, but I will count before I put this video up, and I'll put it on the screen how many of these blocks I have. I think I only need to make a couple of more before I have to start putting it together. So that is my quilt chandelier whip for Riley. This next one is another chandelier quilt. This was made from 2 charm packs, okay? This is a charm 5-inch block, and then these are the charms cut in 4ths, okay? But this particular fabric is Breakfast at Tiffany's. It has been out, it was out a number of years ago. I remember I got it at a quilt shop that no longer is in business, but I have 2 charm packs. And I'm excited about that because that means I'm going to try and make this a full-size bed quilt. Probably a king if I'm going to put it on my bed. Otherwise, I just might make a full and use it on a guest bed or something like that. But again, these are going to be set on point. They're 8.5-inch blocks. So very quickly, I'm just going to thumb through them. These on the top were the florals, and then it has some polka dots in the fabric line as well. I also chose some prints to kind of fill it out from my stash, but these first few are from the Breakfast at Tiffany's charm packs. So as you can see, there's a wide variety of colors and prints, and I just enjoyed picking out some other prints that would go with it from my stash. Like this one, I'm almost positive that one came from my stash. But again, this is the chandelier quilt from the Charm School book, okay? And that's the Breakfast at Tiffany's line of fabrics. And again, I'll put how many blocks I have on the screen. Now this next one is kind of a free form one. There is no name, but I did see this picture on Pinterest, and if I find it, I will put a link to it in the notes. But I just looked at a picture and said I can do that and just figured out the dimensions on my own. So this block in the center is made from old jeans. I have a bag, you know those bags that you get that your comforters come in? I have a bag full of old jeans. For my kids, myself, just some of them came from Goodwill. I just have a whole container full of old denim because I like creating with that. And so the middle block is 6.5 inches. The 2.5-inch squares are around the border. And as you can see, I chose all florals. These came from my stash. Okay, so these are 2.5-inch blocks. So the total size of the block is 10.5 inches unfinished. And for those of you that might not know what that means, unfinished means in this state before you put all the blocks together. When they're put together, the blocks will be 10 inches. So right now, most of these blocks will finish at 2 inches because I use a 1/4-inch seam on all my blocks. So I just kind of call this my denim floral scrappy block. And then I will go ahead and go through some of these for you as well. So you guys kind of get the idea on these. Okay, they're all very similar, but some of these fabrics I just absolutely love, like this one. It's one of my favorites. I've used many of these, this one in different projects over the years. So you guys kind of get the idea on these. A lot of them are kind of similar looking. I have vintage, I have modern, I have all kinds in there, but I believe I have 36 of these so far. So I'm looking forward to making some more and then putting them all together. And you can do that with any type of project. You can do it with a particular type of fabrics that you like. So this next one is called Zig Zag Zoom. And this is another one that I got off of Pinterest. But I actually got the pattern off of Pinterest, so I will put a link down below to this one as well. Okay, but Zig Zag Zoom. And my mom is the one that introduced me to this print because she had done it in a Asian theme. So she had all kind of Asian prints. That's kind of her thing. She loves Asian prints. And so she had done it in all Asian prints. So I was like, hey, I can do that. And I decided to do all Ankara or African prints. So this block finishes at 12 and a half, or sorry, it is 12 and a half inches unfinished, 12 inches finished. This was a throw size that was supposed to measure, I believe, 48 by 60, but I have added some blocks, so I am looking for it to be 60 by 60. I would like it to be kind of a throw that just stays on my couch in our family room. Our couch is red, so I wanted to do something that went with that, but had some pops of color. I do not remember how many blocks I have. I think I have about 16 or 17, and I think I need 18. So I'm just gonna go through these real fast so you can kind of see they are all different. I get my Ankara from Femi Fabrics, and I often get scrap bundles from her. She makes clothes from the designs. This is one of my favorites. I have 3 different colorways of this fabric. And she'll offer up sometimes on her Facebook page scrap bins. So I will often grab one, and just has a plethora of scraps in it. I actually made a dress out of this fabric at one point. So again, this is Zig Zag Zoom. I will put the link, if I can find it, on down below. But if I do not put a link, you all just do a search for Zig Zag Zoom, and you will see the dimensions and everything for this block. This is just simply a Kona fabric, and I forget, I think it's a red, of course, but I don't remember which exact red, but I just got it at Joann's, and that's what I used to piece it together. So that is Zig Zag Zoom. And again, those finish at 12 inches, okay? This next set of blocks, and I promise you I'm not going to show you this whole stack, but I just wanted you to see how many I had. This is a string block, and I already had this one marked. I have 77 of these, but they're just a basic string block. But what ties them all together is I have a white strip down the middle. These measure 7.5 by 7.5, and I know you're like, well, that's a weird size. I just went with the size that the paper was. These are foundation pieced. Let me show you. So this is an old phone book, and this was the biggest size square I could cut out of that particular phone book page. Do you all know I still get phone books on my porch every couple of years? But when they're finished and sewn together, this paper is going to rip right out, okay? I do sew these. Normal sewing stitch length is 2.5. I do sew these on 2 or sometimes even 1.5. That's what helps perforate your paper and makes it easy to remove in the end. So let me just go through just a few of these so you all can see, but they are all foundation pieced. So again, these blocks are 7.5 inches. This was one of my favorites. Some of them I tried to color coordinate them. Some of them are just random. like this one, but some of them, you know, I saw earlier there was an all polka dot one, you know, yellow and red. I tried to do, I did a lot of them polka dots. I told you guys I love polka dots. So these are my string blocks, 7.5 inches square, so they will finish 7 inches. I have not decided on what kind of form or layout I want to do them in. I could just do straight. I could do it so these triangles meet in the middle and the white strips meet, okay? I just haven't decided. I've seen some where you cut it in half and do a half square triangle block. So I think it's just going to depend on what I'm feeling that day. But I have 77, so that's a pretty good start. And this is something, you all, that I do as I'm sewing other things. So I'll just have some of these laid out, strips. Okay, I keep a bin of strips laid out next to my sewing machine, and I'll just lay them on top of each other and sew them before I start sewing what I'm actually there to sew that day. So these just kind of go together as I am led. And if anybody's interested in a tutorial about that, I can definitely do that. But I'm sure if you do a search on YouTube, you can find some as well. So those are my string blocks. Up next is another Ankara based design with charm squares, 5-inch squares. So I'm using a Moda Grunge as my continuous square. And then I've got Ankara squares for my half square triangles. So all of these put together make half square triangles. And here is my stack. At last count, I had about 88. So I'm just going to kind of go through these very quickly so you can get a feel for the different designs. But again, these are my African print Ankaras. Some of them I have made clothes out of. This one I know I used in a purse. So many different designs. You will notice that some of these, I think some of these I even put them on backwards. Okay, you can't tell. Sometimes Ankara does not have a right or wrong side. This is the one that Project Bag was made out of. So you guys get the idea, okay? Lots and lots of designs. I believe at last count I had 90, something like that. So this is just my half square triangle quilt. It's going to be a throw quilt, I believe. I may make it big enough to go on on the bottom of a bed for decoration, but it is definitely going to be made from half square triangles. I think I may just do a straight setting on them. Okay, just a straight setting. I may try to do a diamond or something. I have not decided. But I love half square triangles, as you all can see. Okay, the last quilt whip that I'm going to share with you today is my version of the Grandmother's Flower Garden. This is done with an English paper piecing technique. And I'll show you the back in just a second. But since I love cross stitch, clearly I love handwork. So this is a quilt that I started, somewhere between 15 and 20 years ago. Clearly I'm not in a hurry. And I picked it back up when my daughter started playing volleyball. And you all, I was basically stuck in gyms a couple nights every week because we live too far away from where her practices are held for me to come back home. So I would just stay in the gym and sit in the bleachers and watch her practice. And I have never been a person to just sit. My hands have to be busy at all times. So this was a logical choice for me to pick back up and start working on. But again, this is a Grandmother's Flower Garden. These pieces, I believe, measure about 3/4 of an inch on these sides. Okay. These are just some of the individual ones I have remaining to place, but I have started piecing it together. And this became kind of my road project. I told you all she travels with volleyball as well. So I would do these on the road, And then when I was at home sitting in the gyms, I would piece them together while I was sitting in the bleachers. But this is pieced again by hand. Okay, I'll show you on one of the individual ones. I know that's a lot of thread, but I just use Gutermann 100% cotton thread. But I would tack the fabric to the back of the template, which I'll show you in a second, but these still have the template inside. Can't remove the template until all the sides of the hexagon are connected. So I would sew the pieces to the template and then sew each of the individual pieces together to form the flower, okay? And then I took these white pieces and started connecting them all together. So this is where I am now. Let me show you how I transported this project. Okay, I would just take this box. This is one of those index card boxes. And then I had all of my pieces cut. I did not measure them. I just kind of eyeballed the size squares that I was going to need. Okay, so these are all the connecting pieces. And then I would get my prints together and then get the coordinating outside pieces together, and then these were my centers for all of them. So as you can see, it was very easy to transport. My thread is in here. This is the type that I used. And then this, it looks like lipstick, but actually it's a little pin cushion. Isn't that cute? But I keep my needles and just a few pins in there. And then as I finished my individual pieces, I just put them in here. So it kind of looked like a candy box with all the different colors. And then once I had enough of each type that I wanted to do, I would put them together. My travel scissors were in there. And then I also have a thimble, okay, because my finger would get really sore. So I always kept a thimble in here. And then here are the individual templates. And you'll notice there's a circle cut out in the middle. So what I would do is I would carry a crochet hook, and then I put the crochet hook through the hole once all sides were covered, and then just pop it out. So yes, these were reusable. Okay, I could probably use them about 3 or 4 times each. So that is my little kit that I would take with me to the gyms that she was playing in or on the plane. And as I would finish the white pieces, I would just put them in this little container. You all, this is just a hair gel container that I just kept because it was small. And then the connecting pieces I would just put in here. And these are all, if I can focus, there we go, different. Okay, see, all of the prints are different. And how I would place them on the individual pieces is with the pins. And that would just keep it in place till I got it tacked down. So if you're interested in seeing more about it, I'd be happy to show you. But this was just the little kit that I took with me and keep at the ready in case I want to take it with me somewhere. So right now I'm going to pause and take a video. My daughter's going to help me show you this completed part all the way open so you can see it. But as you can see, I always have a little bit that I could be working on. These haven't been sewn together. So anytime I can sit down on the couch and I don't feel like cross stitching, this is what I pick up and tackle it. So let me show you what it looks like fully open. Well, this is that grandmother's flower garden quilt that I just showed the blocks for. This is how far I've gotten with the completed blocks sewn together. This is my daughter Layla. She's going to help me show it, and as you can see, she's a lot taller than me and has a longer wingspan than I do. So I always try to get her to hold quilts for me. So bring it on up. So this is how far I have gotten. This is probably half. We're going to go ahead and unfold it the rest of the way. but it's huge. Okay, let's turn it this way. So this is, I don't know how many blocks this is. I think I'm going to count them and I'll put it on the screen. Layla, back up that way. Yep. So as you can see, it's very large. And I'm making this to fit a twin or a full size bed. So we'll come a little bit closer. Stretch it out, Lay. So this is Grandmother's Flower Garden, my version. But I just wanted you all to see all the different colors I've been using. Come on back. So every color of the rainbow, and I tried to leave it pastels. Okay, I did. There's some blocks that had red in them, but I still went with a pastel border. Okay, so there she is, and I will let you know how I end up finishing her. These are the templates that I use. They're just printed on cardstock. Hopefully you can see that. I've got a bit of a glare. Time has moved on, so my sun has changed. But that is, I just cut these apart, punch a hole with them with a hole punch. But you all, they sell plastic ones of these in the store. Some of them with the holes already in them that you can use as your template. Or nowadays, if you have a Cricut or any of the other scan and cut machines, you can design your own. This is, I believe, a 3/4 of an inch template, but you can do any size. I have so much of that fabric left over, I'm going to create a bigger one and then use that for my next quilt. And then I'm going to probably do it in the opposite colorway, have the solid around the yellow center and then the print on the outside. So that's definitely a type of quilt that you can make your own. The other thing I wanted to share before I finished was how I store a lot of my quilt supplies. This is a box from IKEA, nice and big and deep, so I can put a lot of stuff in there, but it's nice and sturdy. And I like that it has the handles here. I also use the scrapbooking containers. This is a quilt block I'll show you in the future. I use those a lot because you can keep your blocks nice and flat. And then really just any cardboard blocks. This is just an Ivy box that I got a product in, and it's a nice sturdy box. This is what I keep my string quilt blocks in. And then this is another type of cardboard box. You all, this is a perfume box, but it's very thick and sturdy, and so I can lay out those smaller blocks very easily in here. And then I love these. I've been collecting these. These are holding my half square triangle blocks, those charm blocks, but look what the container came from. Yep. So I just saved these, and I think they recently got away from this container. I said, of course you would, because I really like it. But I think they have it now, but I think it's a little bigger maybe. But I know this size, I don't think they have anymore. But I use it for my binding for my quilts. So and then they stack. So I can just put them in one area and stack them up if I want to, and they're not going to tip over. So those are just some ideas on storing your quilt blocks when they're in progress. I have more quilt whips than I do cross stitch whips. That one I'm piecing by hand, I just keep it in this pillowcase to keep it nice and neat. There's Maximus, you all. It's getting close to the time that he needs to get out. I'm gonna pause and let him have his fit, and I'll be right back. Plans for June, at least for the next couple of weeks. Finish the post office cross stitch that I showed in my first video for my dad for Father's Day. Take the Omega Sci-Fi crest to the framers. Keep working on my whips. And then the last thing I really want to work on is I need to decide what I'm taking on my trip. We are going on a vacation. My husband and I are going to Jamaica, but we are driving to Texas to drop my kids off with his sister and mom, and then we're flying on to Jamaica from there. So I've got a nice long drive that I think I am going to try and take my Heaven and Earth design. But on the plane, I'm not sure I want to take that. I took my mini all the time on the plane, but I don't know if I want to take this one. It's a lot bigger. So I've got to decide what I'm going to take. And speaking of my trip, when I go to Texas, I would like to visit a local needlework shop while I'm down there. So I would love you guys' input, those of you that have been or live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, what cross-stitch shop I should visit. Now, the one I kept hearing about and that popped up on Google was, let me look at the name. I think it was the Stitching Niche was the one. It was in Arlington, and that is not far from my sister-in-law's place at all. So let me know your thoughts on that. And if there's anywhere else I may be able to pop into. I'm not going to have a lot of time coming or going, so just let me know what you all think about that. And that's not to say you can't recommend something, because we go down there at least once a year, so I can just go at a different time if possible. So let me know your thoughts. Where should I go shopping in Texas? I go quilt shops down there. I'm familiar with those, and I always usually go to the fabric. I can't think of the name I'm looking for. The Fabric District down on Perth Street, Harry Hines, that area. So I always go there, but this time I want to go to a cross-stitch shop. So help me out, you all. If you have any recommendations, I would love to hear them, pros and cons. The last thing I want to mention is Diane sent me a message about attending the Needlework Gallery, which is here in the St. Charles, Missouri area in the end of September, 1st of October. I think the dates were September 29th to October 1st. And it sounds like it's similar to Nashville Market. It has some local designers as well as needlework shops from various places. The majority of them look like they were in the Midwest, but let me just tell you some people that were going to be there. Autumn Lane Stitchery, JBW Designs, Noteworthy Needle, Fabrics by Stephanie, The Nebby Needle, and Rosewood Manor. So the admission for that weekend is, one day is $9, 2-day pass is $17, 3-day pass is $25, and then there's a $40 for a membership. And I'm assuming they're going to have classes and things of that nature. But it's going to be at the Embassy Suites in St. Charles, Missouri from September 29th to October 1st, and it is called the Needlework Gallery. I have heard of this. I had it marked down for something I wanted to investigate for the fall. I will put a link down below. If anybody is familiar with this event, let me know. I would love to get your feedback on, is it something worth going to? With me being local, I'm going to give it a shot and see what is involved. But Diane suggested that we maybe have a meetup. So if anybody else is planning to attend, let me know. And I will pass that on once we decide where we want to meet. But it looks like they have like a stitching lounge that you can hang out in. And I obviously would not stay at the hotel because I live too close to here. But if anybody else is in the vicinity and they're thinking about coming down, would love to meet up with you. So again, September 29th to October 1st, I will put the link down below. There is a website. They said tickets will be going on sale late in June, so to check back then. And then I'm assuming they're going to have some other events involved around that. So just stay tuned. But if you're interested or you know anything about it, please let me know. Okay? That is it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. You all have really encouraged me, inspired me, blessed me, and all of those things these last few weeks with your comments. Thank you to my teachers that reached out to me, facts and otherwise. I think I had some librarians that have reached out to me, but those of you that are in the educational system, I hope you are on summer break. If not, hold on. A change is going to come. I promise it's coming. But stay strong in these hallways and in these cities, because we all know what's going on out here in this world. But to my teachers, thank you for reaching out to me. Thank you to you all who praise my husband for encouraging me to do this. And those of you that shared your disdain or your love for backstitching, I appreciate your comments as well. And then finally, I'm just so excited to hear you all are pulling out old projects, that you're trying to revisit some things that maybe you stuck away, or even start some things that you didn't think you were ever going to start. That is encouraging to me as well, and that is why I was showing you those things. I kind of figured. Paula Vaughn seems to be pretty popular, and she still is, and I think she has a timeless look, and I would love to start one of hers on a hand-dyed fabric, something with some modeling, and see how that would turn out. I think that would be beautiful. So thank you again to all of you all. You can follow me on Instagram at Corycreates08, all one word. I love hearing from you in that forum as well. And I am starting to post more of my stitching over there, but if you go back through my feed, you'll see lots of quilts and things. One thing about my quilts, I do tend to give a lot of them away. So what I'm going to start doing at the end of my videos is maybe just putting some up, finishes that I no longer own. And so you can kind of see what I've done in the past just as the video is going off. And then finally, Marissa requested to see Maximus, who we just heard a few minutes ago. I'm going to get him on live at a later date when I can get my producer, Layla, to take a video of us. But I am going to put a photo of him at the end of this video. So thank you all. I appreciate you. I don't know when I'll be back. It'll at least be a couple of weeks. And if there's anything in particular you want me to share besides my updates, I would be happy to do that. Just let me know. And I know some of you wanted to see a few things, and I did take notes from your comments. So some of those things will be coming in the future. So hang in there. Enjoy summer, you all. And I will see you next time. Be blessed.